I want to show something amazing. On TradingView platform, here click on indicators and search signs of the times. This one, which is an editor specs indicator and written by Loose F. This is one of the best indicators on TradingView that can effectively help you to find the most accurate buy-sell signals ever. First, I explain the components of this indicator and how you can interpret it, and then I will teach you a trading strategy based on this indicator that is very accurate and profitable. Just make sure you watch this video until the end, and let's get started. Before I start explaining the indicator, if you like my contents, please support the channel by liking the video and subscribing to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Alright, now let me explain the indicator. To better understand the indicator, first we go to the settings of the indicator here, and here we remove the channel and MA fill, and then we turn on MA of MA. Alright, first I explain these two components, and then again I add the colors, and I will explain how you can interpret the color changes. This line here that changes color between red and green is called SOTT, signs of the times, and by default it's calculated based on Arnold-Legox moving average. If we go to the settings of the indicator, here for SOTT MA, you can see that we have a list of moving averages to choose, and Arnold-Legox MA is set by default. For this indicator, Arnold-Legox is a good choice, and I recommend using it because it can eliminate noises and minor fluctuations in the market, so the accuracy of the moving average will be increased. And then we have this line here that changes color between orange and blue, and this line is a 20 period moving average of SOTT moving average line. If we go to the settings of the indicator, you can see that by default the length of SOTT moving average is set at 20, and here the length of the moving average of SOTT moving average line is also set at 20. Here for this line we have also a list of different moving averages, and for this line a simple moving average is okay. Here when we turn on MA fill, here for this line in the indicator, which is moving average of SOTT moving average line, you can see that the area between the line and center line is colored based on being above the center line or below the center line. When it is above the center line, the color is orange, and this shows that we have greater bullish strength in the market. And on the other hand, when it is below the center line and the color is blue, it shows that we have greater bearish strength in the market, because this line is a 20 period moving average of this line, the SOTT moving average line. So when we compare them, we can see that this line is smoother and gives later signals. For example, here you can see that SOTT line crossed above the center line and it became green, telling us that we have greater bullish strength in the market. But for this line, it crossed above the center line here a few candles later in compared to SOTT line. Or here you can see that SOTT line crossed below the center line here and it became red, telling us that we have greater bearish strength in the market. But this line crossed below the center line at this point, which is much later in compared to SOTT line. But with this indicator, our point of interest is when these two lines cross each other, which can provide a very early signal on the potential momentum changes that are happening in the market. For example, for this reversal of uptrend to downtrend, here at this point you can see that we got a crossover signal, which is earlier than when the SOTT crossed below the center line, and much earlier than when this line, the moving average of the SOTT line, crossed below the center line. So in this indicator, our focus is more on the crossovers of these two lines, which can provide an early signal that the balance of power between buyers and sellers is changing in the market. Of course, we are talking about short-term change of bullish or bearish strength in the market, which some of them could be the starting point of a trend, and some of them just momentum changes during pullbacks. Alright, now again we go to the settings of the indicator, and here we turn on the channel, so the colors will be added again so we can easily interpret the indicator. Before I start explaining this, I'm proud to announce that recently I published a book, The Art of Price Action Trading, which is a complete guide to price action analysis. The link is in the description and you can get it later if you want to master price action trading. Alright, getting back to this indicator, now you can see that we have different colors depending on on different crossovers that are happening in this indicator. You can see that when SOTT line crosses above its moving average line, the area between the two lines becomes green, and this shows that we have greater bullish pressure in the market. And when SOTT line crosses below its moving average line, the area between them becomes pink, and this shows that we have greater bearish pressure in the market. Of course, not every crossover is worth of trading, as I mentioned earlier, and we can have these types of crossovers in the pullbacks which are against the current trend of the market and not worth of trading, because as I explained earlier, in this indicator we are dealing with short-term momentum changes that are happening in the market. For example, in this part of the chart, these bullish crossovers are worth of trading because they are in the same direction with the current trend of the market, but these bearish crossovers are not worth of trading because they are against the current trend of the market, and after that we just had pullback within the uptrend. Or similarly here in this part of the chart, these bearish crossover signals are worth of trading because they are in the same direction with the current trend of the market, but these bullish crossovers are not worth of trading because they are against the trend and we had just pullback after them. This indicator is doing its job perfectly, and it is correctly showing the changes in the bullish or bearish strength in the market. But please pay attention that this indicator doesn't consider the extent of the price movement, and it only calculates the directional strength of the movement. So this indicator is a perfect tool to tell you about the strength of bullish or bearish pressure in the market, and it is a great complement with a momentum-based oscillator. To show you an example, I add another indicator that is a perfect match to this indicator. Here we click on indicators and we search RSI, this one, Relative Strength Index, and definitely you know this indicator, which is one of the best indicators for identifying trends and overbought and oversold conditions in the market. So here we have an indicator that can help us with the extent of the price movement and filtering many of the false signals of this indicator. For example, from here you can see that RSI line is above the center line, telling us that the market is trending up. So we know that we should focus on bullish crossover signals and we should reject these bearish crossover signals. Or for example, from here you can see that RSI line went below the center line, telling us that the market is trending down, so we should focus on bearish crossover signals and we should reject these bullish crossover signals because they are against the downtrend of the market. And because RSI also helps us with identifying overbought or oversold conditions in the market, it can also help us to filter the signals that are at extreme levels. For example, here you can see that RSI line is below the center line, and here you can see that we got a bearish crossover signals, which tells us that we have greater bearish strength in the market. But this is happening when RSI is showing oversold. So we know that probably the price will turn up instead of further declining, and this is what happened here. As you can see, as I said, this indicator doesn't show the extent of the price movement or longer term trend of the market. It only gives you a measure if we have greater bullish strength in the market or we have greater bearish strength in the market, and when it is combined with a momentum based oscillator like RSI, it can effectively help us in analyzing the price movement in the market. But please pay attention that we have still one more problem, and that is when the market is not trending, because RSI is not helpful when the price is in a trading range and moving flat. For example, RSI line may be above the center line and there is a signal for bullish pressure in the market, and these are really a true signal that the upside momentum is increasing but just short advancing of the price, and this can happen also in a trading range and not actually in an uptrend like what is happening here. The most effective way to identify non-trending market is price action analysis, but there are also some indicators like ADX or Andean oscillator that can help you on this. First, we remove the RSI from our chart, and then here we click on indicators and we search Andean oscillator, this one, which is an editor specs indicator and written by Alex Grover. Alright, this is the indicator, and now let me teach you how you can find accurate buy-sell signals based on this setup. Andean oscillator is one of the best trend indicators that can also help you with identifying non-trending market. When the orange line is above the other two lines, this shows flat market. When the red line is above the other two lines, this shows decline of the price in a downtrend. And in times that the green line is above the other two lines, it shows advancing of the price in an uptrend. In this trading strategy for a short position setup, we want a situation like this where the red line crosses above the green line and then it crosses above the orange line. When the red line is already closed above the orange line, here we check this indicator, and if it is pink, the sell signal is confirmed because this shows greater bearish strength in the market. So here the sell signal is confirmed, and in practice we could enter a short position at this point with the stop loss above the previous swing high and profit target at 1.5 risk to reward ratio. After this trade, you can see that we have another short position opportunity at this point where the red line crossed above the green line, and then after that it crossed above the orange line. And when we check this indicator, we can see that it is pink. So the sell signal is confirmed, and in practice we could enter another short position at this point with the stop loss above the previous swing high and profit target at 1.5 risk to reward ratio. Here you can see that again the red line crossed above the green line, and then after that it crossed above the orange line, and in this indicator it is pink. So the sell signal is confirmed, and in practice we could enter a short position at this point with the stop loss above the previous swing high and profit target at 1.5 risk to reward ratio. Alright, we don't have any other short position setup here, and for a long position setup we want a situation like this where the green line crosses above the red line, and then after that it crosses above the orange line, and then here in this indicator the color should be green, which is not the case here. So this signal here is rejected. Here you can see that we have a short position setup. The red line crossed above the green line, and then after that it crossed above the orange line. But when this crossing happens, here you can see that in this indicator we are in the process of crossing, and then after that it became green. When you have a signal from this indicator and then in this indicator, you can see that the SOTT line is very close to its moving average line and it's going to cross it. You should wait and see what will happen. In this case, you can see that it turned to green. So this sell signal here is rejected. And here we have a long position setup where the green line crossed above the red line, and then after that it crossed above the orange line. And in this indicator, you can see that it is green. So the buy signal here is confirmed, and in practice we could enter a long position at this point with the stop loss below the previous swing low and profit target at 1.5 risk to reward ratio. Please pay attention that this trading strategy will not give you 100% guaranteed signals. There is no trading strategy capable of this, and losing positions are always part of the game, so you need to manage your risk properly. There is a risk management strategy that is called 1% rule, and it's recommended by professional traders. I have a complete guide on this. The link is also placed in the description, and I highly recommend you to watch it, because without a proper risk management strategy you cannot become a consistently profitable trader. Alright, that's it. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask and leave a comment for me. I'll answer your questions as soon as possible. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell so you get the notifications of my new videos. See you guys in next video, and good luck with your trading.